Let's get this going. Welcome to another episode of Adam and Jake on the Movies. I'm Jake.
And I am Adam.
Is that all we have today?
Yeah, that's all we have today.
Okay, that's all we have today. All right, that's fine. Every week we break down another movie, we talk about it, we discuss it, what we liked about it, what worked with it, what didn't work with it, what we would do differently with the films. And this week we're sticking with our Christmas theme. So we are doing, or are we sticking with our Christmas themes? We will discuss that later.
Yes.
But we watched Die Hard, which was released in 1988, directed by John McTiernan.
Yes.
Written by Jeb Stewart and Stephen E. D'Souza, cool name, starring the Bruce Willis. So let's jump into things right off the bat. You'd seen this movie before, correct?
Yes, I'd seen this movie probably 20 times.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I never seen it before.
I saw it when I was a little kid, and I've watched it consistently pretty much ever since then.
Is it a Christmas tree? Well, we'll get into that. That. So I'd never seen it before. You saw it before. Let me give my reaction, and then we'll alternate that way.
Okay.
I really liked it.
Okay.
Really liked it. I'm not into action films. It's not really my genre. I don't mind them, but it's not really my genre. But I thought the first half of it was good. I was like, okay, all right. And then as soon as the midpoint happened and we moved into the second half of the film, I was like really digging it. I was like, dang, this thing is like really, really well done. It's well written. It's well acted. I was like really, really, really digging the film. So I was like, this definitely was a good time had. And
good surprise.
Yeah, and I actually just finished it. So I started it last night, and I didn't finish it last night because it's really long.
Yeah.
But I finished it about an hour ago, and it was good. It was really good. What about you?
Well, when I first watched it as a kid, I would see the preview for Die Hard 2 on HBO. So I saw Die Hard 2 before I actually saw Die Hard. And I knew kind of what it was about, but then I rented Die Hard from the public library and watched it and continued to rent it one summer. And I've fallen in love with it ever since. So almost every action movie that I've seen in my life, I've compared to Die Hard because it's one of the first action movies that I'd seen. And I find it, like you said, it's well written, it's well acted. Bruce Willis does one of his best roles, the role that he still does up until a few years ago. The villain is equally as smart as the hero, and the script is one of the most perfect action scripts ever written as far as first, second, and third acts. So yeah, I find it a good time.
Is the second one the one where they light the gas to the airplane on fire?
Yep, that's the second one.
I've seen like the last 10 minutes of that one.
Okay.
It was good. I liked it. I thought that was really, really, really cool.
And the second one it's not as good, but it's still a good time. It's still a good time.
All right. Did you think I was gonna like it?
You know, we had never really done a straight out action movie before. So I was unsure. I knew you said that action wasn't your genre, but I thought if any action movie would be, this would be the one. So when you said you wanted to do Die Hard, that surprised me. But that you've liked it as much as you do like it surprises me as well.
You know what I appreciate about it is that it was like real action. It wasn't like cheesy action.
Yeah.
That's what I hate. I hate action with punchlines. And there's too many of those movies out there. This one had some punchline-ish.
Right.
But it was still like you still felt the stakes. With those, you're like, I'm just watching a random action movie. This one, you're like, there's like real people involved.
And also, this one is, there weren't, other than a few Arnold one-liners or Stallone one-liners, there weren't that many one-liners in movies as much when this movie was made. So a lot of those movies had piggybacked on this movie. And I do have a list of movies that are Die Hard on a whatever.
Let's do it.
plane, train, whatever. So when we get into it, I've got
Oh,
some
okay.
examples. Okay.
Okay. All right. Okay. So that good first segment. That was our longest first segment.
It was a good one.
In a while. Next, shoot, I got too many screens and my computer's going slow. What's one thing that you wish you could change about the movie? You take this one first.
You know, honestly, if anything, I would like to have a little more Hans Gruber in the movie. The bad guy, Alan Rickman as the bad guy.
Okay.
Now, I
Yeah.
don't know if it would work because too much of him
Mhm.
might make you dislike him more, but he's a very likable villain. He's very suave. But he's heartless. But he's somebody that he was a realistic villain, and he had smarts and intelligence, and you didn't feel like a lot of the especially in the 80s, a lot of their villains were like dumb villains. I mean, they were going up against Stallone and Arnold and people like these. But Bruce Willis's action star was an everyman, so they needed to have not an everyman villain, but a villain that would be a worthy adversary to him. And I think it was great. But I don't think that I would change anything. I really don't. I think it lags. I'm trying to think. I think it lags at a certain point, but not terribly. Maybe just little snippets here and there. But for the most part, I think I would leave it. What about you?
It's slow to get going, I think. And the first half of the film is a little bit slow.
Okay.
So I would maybe tighten that just ever so much. But once you hit the midpoint, I wouldn't touch any of that because I think that just keeps building on itself. The FBI guys, like, it was weird because you got the cop, and then you've got Reginald Bell Johnson's character, and then he brings in, like, then they have the LA people who are like, oh, they become like the contagonist or whatever. And then you bring in the FBI. That felt like it was a little bit forced.
Yeah.
I get it. I think it paid off well. But I was like, there's a lot of bad guys in this movie. A lot of bad guys.
I did some research on this last night. That was brought up. Those FBI and both the FBI and the other character are not very likable characters. And the one character is the I don't know. He's in The Breakfast Club as the guy over the detention.
He's like the principal or whatever. Yeah.
So he plays kind of almost the exact same role, if you think about it, except he's doing it with adults this time. And I think he just created a little more of a dilemma for John McClane, really.
Yeah.
Because he wasn't really fighting against Hans and the terrorists. He was making life more difficult for McClane. But I do think that they had too much screen time, probably.
You know, that's so true. They literally, like, they just made life so much more difficult for John McClane. It was like he already had to beat, what was it, 12 or 14?
12
terrorists. So he already had to beat them. Then he's got all these people on the ground, and then in the helicopters that he has to beat too. And it's like, man's just trying to get to a Christmas party. Come on, people.
And also, if you think about it, the FBI agents or the agents outside are part of the reasons that the terrorists even knew that John McClane was there, because he was on the radio so long talking to him.
Mm-hmm.
So had they kept it short and sweet, the terrorists might not have been able to hear in. They still could have, but you don't know. If you're on the radio 4 minutes as opposed to a minute, that's going to give them less time to be able to hear what you're saying. Which would have pretty much stopped the progress of the movie.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. What do you think about John McClane in that character? Did you think he arced well? Did he serve the purpose of the story well?
I think he says in there he was selfish.
Mm-hmm.
He was a selfish person and a selfish husband. I mean, she's living with Ellis. Well, basically living with Ellis, the guy that gives her the watch, I think, the Rolex that he says. That guy did a good job as well, just playing a little sleazeball.
Yeah.
Real good sleazeball.
When you really don't like somebody, then it's like, man, they're really good.
It's true. That's true.
Even to this day, like I said with Edward Norton, I still can't watch a movie with him because of American History X, because he
But
was so good in that movie.
yeah, it just sticks with you. But I think Bruce Willis's character as John McClane is this hardened, selfish cop at the beginning of the movie, and at the end of the movie, I don't think he's selfish. I think that's what's changed about him, because he has risked his life basically to get his wife Holly back. She just happens to be one of many hostages, but that's the real reason he's doing it, because she's there. That's the only reason he's there, because of her.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he makes a good arc as far as like he's discovered he's not selfish anymore. I think he's learned a lesson through this.
Yeah, and you really hear that with that little speech that he gives to Reginald VelJohnson, where he thinks that he's going to die, and he's like, I guess he's going to plow into him and just try to go in guns blazing. But that little speech that he gives is a good example of almost like that selfishness that he has at the beginning, because he says something. He's like, I've told her that I've loved her a million times, but I've never told her that I'm sorry. And I was like, oh, that was a good little speech.
Yeah, and the screenplay to this movie, like I said, it's really good. It's a tight screenplay, and the dialogue is really good. It's realistic. It's executed perfectly.
Yeah, and then he like, the one thing I like about it is there's like this God moment in there too, where he says that, and he says something like the man upstairs or something. Yeah. And then he goes, oh, upstairs. And then he's like, boom, now he knows what's going to happen. So he's got to like act on it. I was like, so good. Like, that's just great writing. So I
really like this movie. I really am.
It was just so good. Let's do secondary character, then we'll just hit that pretty quick.
Okay.
You want me to take that first?
Yeah, you can go ahead and take it.
I think there was a lot of really, really, really good ones. I wrote Reginald VelJohnson down just because I liked him so much. But I think his name is like Deborah White, who's the
limo?
Yeah, the limo driver.
Yeah.
I thought he was a lot of fun. It's hard to narrow in one because like Alan Rickman just like steals the show.
And it's Alan Rickman, from what I could tell. Now, I've not checked on IMDb, but I was reading some research about Die Hard, and it said in several articles his debut film role at the age of 40.
I checked his IMDb and his Wikipedia.
Yeah.
The first film on there, because I think he was a theater actor until his 40s. Yep, that was his first film. Because I was like, here's this bad thing. The only thing I knew about Alan Rickman was what's the movie where him and Tim Allen go to space?
Oh, Galaxy Quest. Really?
That was the extent of Alan Rickman for me.
Alan Rickman's also a villain in Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves.
Oh yeah, I haven't seen that movie in so long.
He fills the show as the sheriff of Nottingham.
Yes. Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah, he's a late film bloomer.
Yeah.
But he came in out of nowhere.
I've not watched them, but I think he's in Harry Potter movies. Is he in Harry Potter movies?
Oh, he is.
Is he in the Harry Potter movies?
I think he is. I see his face.
I've only seen one of the Harry Potter, so sorry about that. But
what about you? Who would you go with for that secondary?
I do have Hans Gruber, because he's also many times referenced as one of the best villains of all time in movies.
Really?
Yeah. But I would, other than him, I would go with his wife, Holly. Because without Holly, I was reading something about this. I don't know if I wrote it down last night, but John McClane has several character goals in the movie. Mm-hmm. And Holly is one of those character goals in the movie. But Holly isn't in the movie all that much if you think about it. But about the midway point, Holly asks Hans or one of the henchmen if she can move her friend into another room because she's pregnant.
Mhm.
That gives the audience just enough insight to know that Holly's caring and that she's still there, and that's why John McClane is fighting for her. Because if you have long sequences of action, just another bad guy being shot, but when there's stakes, and the stakes are Ellis and Holly and Mr. Tanaka and all these people, then there's some real stakes. And
Yeah.
so I would say Holly makes the story move forward just by her presence a little bit throughout, because we're introduced to Holly. I think we're introduced to her before we're introduced to John McClane. Isn't Holly, or is it John McClane on the plane? I can't recall now.
No, yeah, he's on the plane.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Holly's, so she's not on, she doesn't have that much screen time, but she's a
Mhm.
very vital character in the movie as well.
Yeah. Do you want to do music, or can we skip music?
We can skip it if you want. I think the music was fitting, and I thought it added to it, and I think the composer did a good job.
Yeah, Christmas theme. I thought that was cool how they kind of redid some Christmas music. So I was like, okay, cool. Like the Ode to Joy scene. So because I really want to get to scene, and then I want to break down the ending of it.
Okay.
What was your favorite scene?
This is such a tough one.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite scenes is when, and it's really well acted near the end of the movie. Spoiler alert ahead, if no one's watched this movie, where Hans pretends to be a hostage. Because one reason I like this is, and this is another reason the script is so well, the audience knows something that John McClane doesn't know. So we know that he's in there pretending to be a hostage. He drops his accent for that scene. Mm-hmm. John McClane doesn't know anything, and we're sitting there on the edge of our seat saying, John, he's right there. Who you're looking for is right there, but he doesn't know that. So I think the tension through the entire movie builds to that, because when that happened, I was like, he does a good job of just acting like another hostage. Mm-hmm. And it almost worked. So, mm-hmm. I mean, I think that's a good one. I think a little subtle scene when John McClane, the lady on the plane, says to relieve stress, take off your shoes and socks and rub your feet on the carpet. Mm-hmm. That's the reason he has no shoes on the entire movie.
The entire movie. You would think after killing all these people, he would steal somebody's shoes.
I did think that at a couple points. When I first
you almost deserve that big chunk of glass in your foot because of this.
Somebody's going to have a size 11. You know what I mean?
So let me ask you a question about that scene. I love that scene too. But the gun's empty. Yeah. Does John McClane know that it's him or not? Is John McClane afraid that if he does kill this guy, then all of the other henchmen are just going to go out guns blazing and kill all the people? And that's why he say it doesn't get to him?
I wonder as well, because he gives that little Bruce Willis smirk when the gun clicks and there's nothing in it as well. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. That's a good question.
Or was it just a test?
See, that my thought is, I don't know if I would just hand over a gun to someone.
Yeah.
You have to think. Hans was there acting, please don't kill me, please, like acting all sad, like he was really fearful. Would you hand somebody a gun like that if they're just crying a few minutes before? What if they get nervous and shoot you? Mm-hmm. Or what if he really does think this is Hans?
See, it might. That's why I was thinking it might be a test to say, if it is a good guy, then he's not going to turn that gun on me.
Right.
But if it isn't, then he is going to turn it on me.
Because McClane has no way of actually knowing, because he doesn't know what he looks like. Everybody there is dressed up because it's, a big Christmas party, so they have nice tuxedos, nice dresses. Mm-hmm. So he's dressed kind of like that. So that's a very good question. Does he know or not know?
All right, so my favorite scene. This scene. So that was going to be my favorite scene, but then this scene happens, and I was like, this is it. Do you know what scene it is?
No, I don't.
Okay. So I just knew. I'm like, these writers, because they keep setting up these little things, and I'm like, and they're paying off every single setup. So I'm like, they're going to do this. I'm like, it's going to come down to John McClane and what's his name, Hans,
Hans, yeah.
and the wife is going to be in the middle. She's going to be in the middle. It's got to, because that's the way that these guys are just too good.
Yeah.
And that scene where she looks at the TV and sees, is it her child on the TV? There's like a little TV in her office.
Yeah, maybe so.
She looks at the TV, and Alan Rickman can see in her eyes
The reflection of the TV.
that, yeah, and that there's a connection there, and he's like, what? And then he pulls up the photograph and sees the picture of her and John McClane. And I'm like, he knows what John McClane looks like because they set that up earlier with that scene that you had. That's you cannot forget. I was like, once that happens, and nothing is said in that scene. It's just visual, 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 visual. Pull it up, and you're like, dang.
That's a good scene.
Like, that is some amazing writing. That was the moment when that scene happened. Oops, sorry. When that scene happened, I was like, I'm sold. Like, I'm done. This is just so good. I can't, because like it's just like every single setup, like not one thing was wasted in this film. Everything paid off. It was just a work of art. It was so good.
I'm glad to see you're passionate about this. I didn't. Now you see why I said I almost went to the movie theater and saw this movie.
Oh yeah.
Because I've only seen it on the small screen. I've never seen it, at the theater or anything like that. And this is a movie. It can be experienced both ways, but just imagine,
Yeah. I would love to see it. Love to see it in the theater. All right, so let's finish things off here with this last segment. So just final thoughts. Would you recommend it? And the big question is, Christmas movie?
So I've done a lot of research about the Christmas movie, and I'm not yet determined what I feel about that. So I'll save that to the end. But I would say that Die Hard is, I would definitely recommend Die Hard. You need to go, Carlos? Do you need to? I would say that Die Hard, people of all ages that like all genres of movies should like Die Hard. The action's great. The acting is spectacular. There's no CGI in the movie. It's all practical effects.
Oh, wow.
So, and it stands up to this day.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, the very ending scene might be CGI a little, but they didn't have really all that stuff then. I would recommend it. This is one of Bruce Willis's best movies. I think he'd only been really acting in a TV show in one or two movies, so he wasn't a huge star. And I had also read that test audience, Bruce Willis wasn't the first choice for this. They wanted like Stallone or Mel Gibson or Arnold Schwarzenegger or Harrison Ford, those types. But Bruce Willis, when they did test screenings, it didn't screen well. So the first movie trailers of Die Hard featured Bruce Willis in them very little. I watched a couple of them last night, and two that I found, Bruce Willis isn't even in the trailer until the last 45 seconds of the trailer. They opened up.
Is it all Alan Rickman?
It was just kind of scenes of what was going to happen, just random scenes of mainly the terrorists, Holly, and things like that. But Bruce Willis was featured later on in the trailer. Also, it was like they put this movie. It came out in the summer, like Ghostbusters 2, or not Ghostbusters 2, but Crocodile Dundee 2, Rambo 3, big movies like that coming to America. They opened this movie up in limited release on 2 theater screens. Then the next weekend, it went in wide release, and it stayed in the top 10 for at least 7 weeks.
And it was a summer movie?
It was a summer movie. It cost $28 million, and it ended up making I think $88 million here in America, $140 worldwide. And Bruce Willis's asking price, $5 million, was the highest of any actor at that time, which caused controversy because actors such as like Dustin Hoffman or Daniel Day-Lewis, more respected actors, were getting less money, and here comes a TV actor, which that meant something then. TV actors didn't make the transition to big screen like now, and it was kind of a step down to be a TV actor in the 80s as opposed to movies. So Bruce Willis really broke the mold in saying that a TV actor can break out and be an actor. So this movie was actually significant in many, many ways.
What was the show that he was on?
It was called Moonlighting. And it was like a comedic show.
Oh. Okay.
And Bruce Willis had done another movie called Blind Date, and it was like a comedic movie as well. But to get back to whether I would recommend this, yes, I would recommend this movie. And is it a Christmas movie? Not in the traditional sense, but due to the fact that it takes place around the Christmas setting, I would classify it as a Christmas movie just because it's enjoyable.
I loved this movie. I'm going to add it to my arsenal the great thing about this movie is that it's a movie you can watch any time of the year, but I feel like it's a little bit more special around the holidays.
Yes.
I think it's superbly written. I can't find any fault with it whatsoever. I think everything was done so well. So I'm definitely going to watch it more often.
Will this be a yearly tradition?
It definitely could be. Definitely could be. Is it a Christmas movie? Have you ever heard of this movie from 2010 called Rare Exports?
No.
We really should have added it to our list, but it's kind of hard to get a hold of.
Okay.
It's this it's Finlandian Christmas movie. Let me just read the log line for you really quick.
Okay.
In the depths of the Korvatornuri Mountains, 486 meters deep, lies the closest ever guarded secret of Christmas. The time has come to dig it up. This Christmas, everyone will believe in Santa Claus. And it's like a adventure fantasy horror film where they dig up this giant monster for Christmas.
Really?
Yeah. And it's guarded by all of these 80, 85, 90-year-old elves. It's the craziest thing you've ever seen in your entire life. If Rare Exports is a Christmas movie, then this one is like Elf. Because this one is way more Christmas than, that one deals with like Christmas issues, but this one is like, it's around Christmas. There's Christmas trees everywhere. Even at the end, they have snow as all the papers and stuff fall out of the building down onto everybody in LA. So I was like, yeah, this is definitely, I would say it's a Christmas film. And I think it's good to watch any time of the year, but it's extra special around the
I agree with you. Now let me ask you this. Is this your favorite action movie that you've ever watched? Is this the best action movie you've ever watched?
I would say it's at least top 3.
Okay.
Yeah. I really liked Mission Impossible 2.
Okay.
I'm a big fan of that movie. And I know there's got to be one other action film somewhere in there.
Yeah.
That I would put up there, but I would definitely say this is, because I haven't seen many Stallone action movies.
They're fun in an 80s way.
Yeah.
I
saw what'd you call it, 2? Rambo 2.
Okay.
Yeah. This one is probably, right now I can't think of a third one that I would even put in the category. So maybe it's top 2.
Well, here's a couple of movies just right off that are pretty much a clone of Die Hard. So we have Cliffhanger. Have you heard of that one before? That's Die Hard on the mountainside, on the cliff.
Okay.
Under Siege, that's on a boat.
Okay.
Die Hard 2. Air Force One, that's Harrison Ford, where the terrorists take over Air Force One.
I've seen that one.
The Rock, where terrorists take over Alcatraz.
Mm-hmm.
Have you watched that one, Sean Connery, Nicolas Cage?
I haven't seen that one. I know it, but I haven't
That's
seen it.
well, that's a good action movie too. Not quite as good as Die Hard, but that's a good one as well. Speed.
Speed is like Alex's favorite movie.
Speed is a really good movie.
She loves that movie. She's like, you guys should do Speed. I said maybe we'll do it after The Net.
We should do Speed. Speed is
Well,
a good one.
let's put it. Well, that'll be a 2021 movie. We got to
Okay.
put that on the list. Speed.
White
Yeah,
House
'cause-
Down, that was another one. That's terrorists take over the White House. Passenger 57, another one where that's with Wesley Snipes.
Okay.
Terrorists take over a plane again. Sudden Death, that's with Van Damme, where terrorists take over a hockey game with the president there. And that's just a few. There's many, but that's just a few of the ones like that.
Yeah, it's that like isolated island that they're on, which I think is what makes this. And they're on a building, so there's like no way out.
Mm-hmm.
And you're on the 30-something floor. It's just so well done.
Yeah.
It's
So we'll definitely
just good.
and a few
Have you all ever seen Con Air?
Con Air. That's
Yeah.
Con Air is a good one.
That's like my favorite movie.
That
Is it?
one.
There's action.
Yeah.
That's a really good like Nick Cage action movie. That might be my favorite Nick Cage action film.
And there's a bit of a love story in there.
Mhm.
They throw the wife in who's trying to, because he's about to be released and they're messing it up for him, you
Yeah.
know?
Hmm.
Yeah.
And John Cusack is in that. Alex
I
loves
don't
the
know.
John Cusack movie.
But John is actually, out of character in that movie. That's not,
See, that was one of the first movies that I ever saw of his.
yeah.
So that was kind of the bar I set for him. But then, like Gross Point Blank, he's kind of similar-ish.
Well, that's true. Yeah.
But yeah, that's like you
His
said.
overall career, that's just not. But he
kinda
was nice.
shifted.
Like he was nice in Con Air. Like he was trying to help the wife and he was trying to help Nicolas Cage and
Yeah.
he was really nice. Yeah.
Who's the actress from Serendipity?
Kate Beckinsale.
Yeah.
She did the opposite of that. She started in these little like rom-com movies and then completely turned into an action
Action
person.
Yeah, because she does all those underworld movies as well.
Yeah, which I've never seen any of those.
Oh, and those are really good too.
I've only seen the first one.
I've liked all of them.
Her and John Cusack just flipped. Then they flipped with Serendipity.
Yeah.
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 Now they made a few years ago, 2 years ago, they made a movie called Skyscraper with the Dwayne the Rock Johnson, and that is basically a retread of this movie as well. So one thing you didn't ask me today, the synopsis.
Oh, I didn't. Did you have it?
I actually wrote it down at the top of the page.
You know what? All right, so here's what we do. Let's wrap things up real quick, and we'll finish with the synopsis.
Okay.
All right. So next week we'll be back next week, right?
Yeah, we'll be back. We have you want to do another Christmas one since it'll still be December?
Why not? It's 2020. We can do whatever we want.
Yes. And this was a special episode. I'm glad we were able to do it.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. We'll talk about what we want to do, but we'll do
Okay.
another Christmas, unless you have one in mind.
No.
Okay.
No, not yet.
I mean,
I'll think about it.
if we want to go down the traditional road, we can, or we can choose I've got a couple, not the traditional Christmas movies, but we can stick to traditional ones.
Maybe we could try to find there is rare exports that we could watch. That was a little crazy.
Okay.
But maybe we could try to find one that neither one of us has seen. We'll talk about maybe on the show.
Now, somebody was suggesting Red Eye and Black Christmas. Now, Black Christmas was one that I was thinking of, but that might not be down your alley. That might be a little much.
Okay.
You know what I mean? 'Cause
I'll-
I don't want you to not like the movie totally, but I am glad that you like Die Hard, though.
I loved it. Absolutely loved it. And now I wish, because Alex and I were going to watch it, but then since I had to get it early in the week, I just ended up watching by myself. But I think she really would have liked it too.
Yeah.
It's so good. All right, so
It's
we'll
an action movie that females will like.
yeah. All right, so we'll figure out a movie for next week, but it'll probably be Christmas themed. We're gonna do a show in a little bit, so stick around for that. Where can people watch the show in the
If they
rerun?
want to watch the show, they can go to King Network TV, powered by Roku TV. We have a show Wednesdays at 7 p.m. and Fridays at midnight. Sketches will be on there, and Jake is the video-on-demand face of the show. So click on Jake's face, and you can watch some past episodes as well.
All right. So that's going to do it for this episode. We will be back next week. And until then, give us our synopsis real quick, and then we'll close out. You know what? Merry Christmas to everyone. We're going to finish out with the synopsis, and as soon as we're done, we'll just end it right there.
Yes. So a New York cop tries to save his wife and other hostages taken by terrorists on Christmas Eve during a Christmas party at the Nakatomi Plaza in Los Angeles.
So long, everyone.
Merry Christmas.